Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet on another show brought to you by One Football App. This time around, we are doing another Getting Started With series and we're heading to Italy. It's AC Milan. I have to admit, when AC Milan was sold to a Chinese conglomerate in 2016, it kind of hurt, that whole identity that goes with Italian football. You've got the Agnelli family, you've got the Moratti family and the Berlusconi family. They're three great football patriarch families of the Serie A. And it's like, whenever I sit down and watch The Godfather, okay, it's like I imagine football having that kind of a connection as well. But now we have an AC Milan side, and AC Milan, well, the glory days of seeing them lift the 2002-2003 Champions League trophy, the European Cup, that's long gone. They have failed to make it to the final stages of any European competition since 2014. So it's really, really sad. And I was very excited when somebody asked me, can you do a Getting Started With series AC Milan? And I went, oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely on that list of clubs that I want to do, including Sporting Lisbon. Sporting Lisbon is also on my list. And so the first thing that you'll notice when you join the club is you got a new chairman, Lee Yong Hong. So I had to get used to this, right? So I'm not really thrilled with the fact that I've got a chairman called Lee Yong Hong. But the whole goal here is to remember this great club called AC Milan. I mean, this is a club. We got Arrigo Sacchi. Now, Arrigo Sacchi's style of football was what we call universal football, in the manner of speaking, where everybody kind of like goes up, attacks, and comes down and defends. It is in large part the inspiration behind one of the philosophies in the game, which is very fluid. Now, on today's show, we're going to do a Getting Started With AC Milan, but I do not plan to replicate Arrigo Sacchi's 4-4-2, nor there are no plans here to replicate the great Champions League triumphs of AC Milan. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at the squad and we're going to plan to bring this club back to its glory days. Now, what are the things that we need to do in order for us to establish a foothold and develop a plan for us to make this club great again? So that's the goal that I have. The first thing we want to do is we want to look at your philosophies. When you join the club, your philosophies are going to be none. That's fine. But over the long run, you want to think about developing players from the academy. So one of the philosophies you can ask for is getting them to invest in youth. And this allows you to get the board to help. Whenever you go to the board, then invest in youth training facilities or improve youth recruitment. This is going to be a plus side for you because then they are likely to make the investment for you. Now, the other thing that we want to do whenever I go into any club is a team report. Now, this is basic. I do this with every single club. What do we have? Now, the one thing that this club has is a world-class goalkeeper in the form of Donnarumma. Gianluigi Donnarumma is one of the best goalkeepers in the world at his age. He's young. He's extremely, he's only 18 years old, and he is the next great Italian goalkeeper. Probably the best goalkeeper in the game. At the moment, he is definitely there. I would do everything in my power never to sell him. And keep him. His personality is fairly determined. He's a wonder kid. And he's definitely a first team player, so you can't really tutor him, so forget about it. Vision is 9 means you're not going to be playing a kicking game with him. You can play him as a sweeper keeper, but I wouldn't be looking at him to launch counter attacks unless we can get this attribute improved. Now, the other things that we want to do is when we go through our team, the summary is okay, but what I normally like to do is I go to comparison and then I compare my team to the rest of the league. I do this for every single Getting Started With series. So if you've already been following this very carefully, you probably know what I'm about to do. So the first thing I do is I look at my defenders, right? For my defenders, the first thing I look at is positioning. This is important. The second thing I look for is their ability to anticipation, concentration, right? So you've got positioning, anticipation, concentration. Anticipation, pretty good. And concentration, that's not too bad. 12.83 is not the best in the world, but positioning 14.17, second only to Juventus. Now remember, this is an average. You always want to aim for the highest number. The thing here, but I get this all the time. Now, you got best, you got worst. You don't aim for the middle, you aim for the best. Why? Because it's an average. Now, your squad can have 24 players, but only 2 of them are going to be on the pitch at any one time. So if you look at your squad and you look at your defenders, so if I were to look at my defense group of players and I were to look at positioning and just look at my two central defenders that I'm going to be using. Notice that you got 120 here and you got 117, but your average was not 20, was not 18. It's brought down by these guys. This 12, 12, 12, 13, 14, they're bringing your average down. So this has to be taken into consideration whenever you're planning a strategy for your team. So we've got our positioning sorted. Now, the second thing I want to know is, okay, in terms of my positioning is important for my defenders, right? But who are they positioning themselves against? They're positioning themselves against midfielders and strikers. So here we're looking at the reverse of positioning, which would be off the ball. So here I'm looking at off the ball, and I'm looking for mentals for players who are going to be attacking us. So they're off the ball in the land is about 14.88, and ours is 13.19. But remember that this is an average. For the boys, most of the players that are off the ball is about 15, but our positioning between our two central defenders is very good, 2017, so it's not too bad. So we go around here, we try to assess things like the league's ability to create chances in and around the box. The second thing I want to do is, how are my players when it comes to things like handling threats in the box? Now, handling threats in the box influences the kind of mentalities I can use. Because if you're using the lower mentalities, or if you're playing without you're playing those narrow systems, you're gonna have a lot to deal. You're gonna have to deal a lot with crosses, right? So you want to know that your boys can handle crosses in the box. Now, jumping reach, if you notice here, it's not one of the best. It's just above average. It's 12.67, but the best in the land is 13.22, which is like, okay, that's not too high. I mean, I've got a player in Kingstonian who's got jumping reach of 18. So this is actually not very good. You want to make sure that you are better than the strikers' jumping reach. Now, the strikers in the land, their jumping reach, Croton, yeah, I remember that, 15. So we know that the strikers, they got a jumping reach of 15, but my defenders need to have at least 15 or higher. So this is something that we need to be aware of when it comes to handling threats in the box. So I go through all these kind of things, including finding out what the acceleration is for the attackers. Acceleration, Napoli's fastest is about 16. So we know that they're speedy little devils in Napoli, but the acceleration for our backline is only about 13.08. When you take a look at the AC Milan squad, you'll find that this team has got lots of central defenders. And if you go to the team report and you take a look at the squad depth, I mean, here I've loaded some tactics up. Here we have, let's just try the 4-1-3-2. I'm using a formation and using the roles currently selected for the tactic. And if I look at the team itself, here you notice that when it comes to the defense, central defenders, you've got quite a number of central defenders who all have solid positioning. At least 3 of them, Romagnoli, Matteo Musacchio, and of course the legend Leonardo Bonucci, they all have fantastic positioning. So the natural inclination is immediately to think, why don't we go with a 3-man backline? Well, it would seem to be natural, right? A 3-man backline. I mean, I would definitely incline towards a 3-man backline, and probably for some of your matches you might want to look at a 3-man defense. But the problem is, if you wanted to play a 3-man backline, they all need to be fast. So you've only got acceleration of 12 and Matteo Musaccio's acceleration of 13. That doesn't make them very fast. They're reasonably fast. Okay, their concentration is 13, and the other central defender's concentration is 14. Anticipation is 16. Okay, but still, they need to be fast in order for them to do what they to cover the flanks. And this is going to be a bit of a challenge. And it's a risk that you're going to take whenever you play with a 3-man backline. And then if I look at the whole team, this is the backline. And then we've got, when you use a 3-man backline, naturally you're going to look at playing wingbacks. Now, they've got 2 wingbacks in the team. Once again, if you go back to the team report, it's much more easier to see from here. So we go to the wingbacks here. They've got 2 wingbacks on the left. We've got Ricardo Rodriguez as well as Luca Antonelli. Now, both of them have their issues. One dives into tackles. The other one tries to play his way out of trouble. Okay, that's on the left flank. On the right flank, we have another problem. We got 2 wingbacks here. Conti gets forward whenever possible. Ignacio Abate gets forward whenever possible. So you got two wing backs on the right flank who believe in bombing up whenever they get a chance to. But this gives us another headache, because if you're playing with a three-man backline, then you will notice that these your wing backs are always going to be bombing forward. So you're going to depend a lot on those three central defenders to do the job that you do of securing your defense, and that is a problem. The next thing we want to do is, how do we control midfield? Because if you can't control midfield, you can forget trying to win the game. You're going to have options. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the squad. We're going to zoom in on our midfielders. And then we're going to basically see which are the players who have good positioning as central midfielders. We've got 15, 14, top two. Both of them not available for a really long time. Biglia, 2 months. And Conte, basically, we'll see you again next season. All right. Then we got Locatelli. We got Jose Maury. 21 years old. Still a long way to go. Not that fantastic. And then as you go down the list, positioning becomes basically a really expensive commodity for our team. Then we got Luca Antonelli. We got Frank Kessie. And then these are options. We don't have very, very many options. So we have basically 3 players who can add steal. Locatelli. We got Antonelli, who can be moved into midfield. We've got Frank Kessie here, who's got decent positioning. Not fantastic off the ball, but at least we can depend on him defending at least, right? Then we got Montalivo, who can string the passes. He may not be very fast, so we have to surround him. He has to play somewhere in the middle. Then we just get the players on the flanks and do the leg work. So we got the choices here are Montalivo, Locatelli, as well as Frank Kessie, and if push comes to shove, we need another player there. We got Antonelli. So we've got four. We've got probably 2 or 3 and one more player. So these are the players that we're going to be looking at to control midfield. While Biglia spends all that time with sexy physiotherapists working on getting him back to the team. We hope it doesn't take too long, because we got other players who are injured as well. Bonaventura is out. This is another important player for the side, out for 3 months. So we really have to build a team without these players for now. If I'm looking at this team, Bonaventura can play in 4-1-2-2-1 as a playmaker on the left flank. He can also play in a 4-1-3-2 or a 4-3-1-2 as a central player that's going to punch through, which means that there are 3 other players that are fighting for this position. He competes with 2 other players for positions. So Bonaventura's other player that can play in that position is Hakan. Hakan is not as good as Bonaventura. And finally, we got the one and only Suso. So we got these 3 players. So we can create a system which is a 4-1-2-2-1, a 4-3-1-2, or a 4-1-3-2. We can also use a 3-5-2, but then we won't be using Hakan, we won't be using Suso in that kind of system, which is a bit of a waste. If you can't really put Suso on the pitch, you end up playing a ridiculous system which has got Suso playing as an AM behind us, or a shadow striker behind the striker, which is something that they do in real life, but I have no plans of replicating what they do in real life. We are looking for a tactic that optimizes their position, their roles and duties in the game. That's how I'm going to be approaching the game. So please don't expect this to be a replication of how AC Milan is playing in real life. Sometimes I like to optimize the way they're playing, and this is my goal. There are plenty of systems that you can use with AC Milan. You can use a 3-4-1-2, you can use a 4-1-2-3, you can use a 4-3-3 or 4-5-1. No, the list, there's about 4 or 5 systems that you can use. But against Juventus, they played a 4-2-3-1. We decided to go with what I would like to think is a 3-4-1-2. I mean, some people might argue it's a 5-2-3. I don't really care. I mean, for me, it's the number of players who are taking part in attacking transitions that is important. And this totally destroyed a first team from Juventus in the first half. We scored nearly most of the goals in the first half. Against Liverpool, we used the same system again. And we destroyed Liverpool here. They started with their first team. Second half, they changed the players, but it was not enough total domination. And we've also used other tactics as well. Basically, the way I look at it, if you pick up the thing here is that we have to remember the AC Milan have a really they've got quite a lot of central defenders, and you can use the central defenders in the back line, and chances are you'll have Bonucci, Musacchio, and Romagnoli to start with, and that leaves you with Gustavo. I think it's Gustavo who can be a backup central defender. Of course, you got Zapata as well. So you've got quite a number of central defenders. Then here with this system, what we've done is we are actually creating a system which soaks in and then hits it really hard with a wing back that's going to arrive late. The wing back, if your team can hold on, I mean, if they can do enough to control midfield, this wing back is going to come in and he's going to be a big danger. So we've got DLF on support on this side of the flank to support the wing back as he makes his move down the flank, and then we're keeping it simple with the poacher. Now there's no we got the poacher on close down much more and move into channels. The DLF on support doesn't do anything, AM doesn't do anything, ball winning doesn't do anything. The DLP on defense, I've got him to do close down more and dribble less, keeping it simple. The wing back on support has got shoot less often, few risky passes. Wing back on defense doesn't do anything, and you've got 3 central defenders and a sweeper keeper that distributes centre backs and takes short kicks. In terms of team instructions, keeping it simple, we work ball, whip, play wider, push high up, and prevent short goalkeeper distribution. Now, when we use this tactic, generally, I'm not worried about the left flank. And I like to use Rodriguez on the left flank because Rodriguez himself is pretty decent at set pieces. So if Hakan is not playing, we got Rodriguez, and Rodriguez is a good backup. And for the ball winning role, I usually will use Kessie as a ball winning midfielder, and Montolivo here until Biglia comes back. Then we can swap things around. Then we got you have more options. As an attacking midfielder, Hakan might play here, but generally I prefer Suso. Silva will play as a deep line forward and support, and then you can use Coutron or Kalinic niche as the poacher in this system. So that's one way of playing it. What's the